Today we're covering appraisal gaps. What are they, why you should use it, and how you can use it. Hi, I'm Marissa. I'm a real estate agent here in Appleton, Wisconsin, and I love to post content for the public, educating them on all things real estate, and I also love to post content for other real estate agents. So if you're new here, be sure to like this video and subscribe. I post new videos every single Monday. So first off, let's talk about what is an appraisal gap. In the real estate industry, an appraisal gap is the difference between the purchase price and the appraised value. Sometimes an appraisal comes in low, and in that case, if you have an appraisal contingency, the seller can negotiate the price, they can drop the price, or the buyer can walk away from the deal altogether. Why is appraisal value so important? Appraised value is going to be what your lender goes off of. So they are going to fund the loan based off of the appraised value. So if it appraises low, they're only going to finance you for that amount, and you'll have to decide if you want to cover the difference. Appraisal gap coverage has become more and more popular and prevalent in today's hot seller market. So who uses an appraisal gap? It is going to be the buyer in their offer to purchase who uses the appraisal gap coverage. So first we're going to talk about why an appraisal gap is good for both buyers and sellers, and then we're going to talk the logistics on how to use it. For a buyer, like I said, this market is very competitive, and using an appraisal gap is a way to have your offer stand out from the rest. It gives the seller more guaranteed money, if you will, because if the appraisal comes in low, you are agreeing upfront to cover a certain difference in purchase price and appraised value. For a seller, it's not always necessary to have an appraisal gap in the offer that you accept, but if you're looking at multiple offers, it might give you some peace of mind in case you think that the appraisal might come in low. So let's look at a real life example. So let's say that the house is listed for $250,000. Multiple buyers come in. One buyer in particular comes in at $280,000 and they have no appraisal gap. Then another buyer comes in at $275,000, but they have an appraisal gap of $10,000. The seller might choose the lower offer just so that they can get more guaranteed funds. The appraisal gap coverage is huge in today's market. Okay, now we're going to talk about how you would actually use the appraisal gap. Your buyer's agent is going to help you craft an offer and include the appraisal gap coverage within your offer. It's important to talk with your lender and decide how much money you'll have left over after closing costs and what you feel comfortable having in your savings after closing and the appraisal gap coverage. So you might be able to do $5,000, you might be able to do $10,000, maybe you can even do $30,000 depending on how much cash you have in your savings. Now, this is a very important thing to note. Earlier in the video, we talked about how the lender is going to finance your home purchase based on the appraised value. So the appraisal gap coverage needs to be cash. It can also be really helpful if you get a proof of funds letter from your bank proving that you have this money in savings to back it up in case you would need to use the appraisal gap coverage. Let's look at another example. Let's say that a house is listed for $250,000 and a buyer comes in at $280,000. They have included a $10,000 appraisal gap. The way that their appraisal gap is worded is that they will cover $10,000 of a gap up to the capped amount of $280,000. So it can't be more than the purchase price. So let's say the house appraises for $280,000 or it appraises for $290,000. The buyer doesn't need to use their $10,000 appraisal gap at all. So they can use that for renovations or decor, furniture, whatever they want when they move in. However, if the appraised value comes in lower than the purchase price, let's say it comes in at $275,000, the way that the appraisal gap coverage is written into the offer, the buyer would cover $5,000 of a gap because they would be making up the difference between appraised value and purchase price. They allotted $10,000, but they don't need to use the full $10,000 since it only appraised for $5,000 under. But let's look at a more dramatic example so we can see the other side of the coin as well. So if the appraised value was $260,000, the buyer is going to then pay a total of $270,000. They're going to use their full $10,000 appraisal gap, but they're not going to use any more than that. So they're going to be at $270,000 instead of $280,000. Although the appraisal gap is a very prominent competitive tactic in today's market, it can be really difficult to understand the inner workings of the appraisal gap and how things are going to work depending on what happens. If you want to learn more about competitive offer tactics, definitely feel free to reach out to me. I'm going to put my email in the description, and then I'm on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, pretty much anything, you name it, and my handle is @HomeWithMarissa, so you can feel free to connect with me on there and shoot me a DM with any questions. Hope you found this video helpful. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss a video. I post every single Monday, and I hope to see you back here next week. Thanks so much for watching.